And what I find interesting, especially about MAGA, is there's a significant rise in right wing extremism and violent attacks in the United States. They don't really have anything to say about that. Um, but also, it just seems like a lot of fear mongering to, sort of piggyback off Trump's ultimately horrific rhetoric towards migrants. I can't remember if Joe was like a great debate or if he was the yeller. I can't remember. Joe, what's up? I know he's been in here before.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing all right. I thought he was respectful, but we'll see. So what's going on? What's your take?
Gotcha. Well, I support Trump just on however, it is imperfect. There's nothing perfect. No such thing as perfect, but immigration, his stance on that, I do support that. If somebody is going, I also support immigration. I support or legal immigration through ports of entry. I don't support people just walking across the border and then seeking asylum or saying they are and then waiting for their day in the court. Those people who are crossing the border illegally, we don't know them from Adam. We don't know what their intentions are. However, I know that the percentage of them are just workers, just making a buck for their family and sending it back. I get that. I'm all for that. But we don't know who they are when they just cross a border undocumented.
Right, but you see how the Trump administration has regularly attacked even people that are here legally.
Yes, like I said, an imperfect system.
Okay, so
Yes.
my second question would be then, why does it matter? Like you're saying, like,
Oh,
okay, for nationalistic reasons, we're not going to stop everyone that crosses the border. That's just a fact. There's no way that we can stop everyone that crosses the border. Um, and what I find interesting, especially about MAGA, is there's a significant rise in right wing extremism and violent attacks in the United States. They don't really have anything to say about that. Um, but also, it just seems like a lot of fear mongering to, sort of piggyback off Trump's ultimately horrific rhetoric towards migrants.
okay. Yep. I mean, what I mean, I think you would say the same thing with the America's judicial system. It's not perfect. There are
I
wrongly accused people in prison.
I agree, but this notion of being like we don't know who's going to cross the border. We have border agents. We've had border agents. Obama made the largest increase in border patrol. Trump literally told the Republicans not to vote for the border bill. So it's just like this has become a political football that the Republicans refuse to solve. Like you have to see that, right? The Republicans are
Oh
not
yeah.
solving this issue. They didn't sign off on the Dreamers. Uh, they have inhibited progress in this specifically so that they can attack it as the Democrats are doing bad. But I
Yeah.
don't know how we're supposed
Yes.
to respond. Of like, no one is saying from this perspective, no one is saying like we shouldn't stop people at the border. The question is using that to justify what the Trump administration is doing. Well, people are crossing the border. People are always going to cross the border. So then,
Sure.
is there if that argument, no matter what we do in terms of a policy proposal, that argument will stand, right? Because it'll never be hardline enough for Republicans.
Sure. But has Trump implemented one of the most aggressive anti illegal immigrants movement, if you want to call it that? You know what I mean? Has he not initiated something to say we're not going to go ahead and just take anybody? If you are undocumented and you are here, we will find you. Do it the right way. I support that.
Right, but you understand how the Republicans have inhibited people from doing it the right way, and at times even targeted people for doing it the right way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know if it's a full blame on the Republicans. I know what you're saying, but I mean, there's been Democrats that have been in office that had their chance at taking care of stuff too, you know. And so I just don't, I don't think it's blamed on the Republicans. I just think that Trump initiated something that's more aggressive than what Democrats would have done. Like I said, it's imperfect, but I do support at least something being done.
Yeah, my thoughts on this are really that the Republicans have been the both the problem and the solution, the proposed solution, where they have
Sure.
made it impossible for people to come here legally and impossible for people to get checked into the system and then turn around and attack them for not being able to get in here legally. Um,
Sure. I think that that's more of like and maybe I'm wrong by saying this, but I think it falls under the Homeland Security, like ports of entry. so on and so forth. I believe that they could. I mean, yeah, you might have to hire a shit ton more people. You might have to have open more ports. You might have to do something, but it's an imperfect system that needs to be rectified. And I believe that Trump is. He's not going to fix it. He's only got 3.5 years. He's not going to. It's got to be something that's going to be continued, and he started it, and that's why I support it.
All right, well, panel, do you got anything? I don't know who wants to take it, or anyone had anything over there.
No, I don't.
I was just going to say, on the notion that he is for preserving and expanding forms of legal migration, I'd argue that he's been the most ardent opponent of legal migration here in the ways that he's attacked student visas and have revoked them, deported people who are here with that status, the way that he's undone temporary protected status or TPS and asylum seeking processes, has undermined legal systems of which many people have gone through the legal route and are now incapable of doing so, or at least discouraged from doing so. If this
Sure.
was his prerogative in getting people in here in the most legal way possible, he wouldn't be cracking down on these systems that have been in place and have facilitated these movements legally.
Sure. And like as I refer to it as like the judicial system, there are people, you'd have to agree, there are innocent people that are in prison. You know what I mean? It's just wrong. It's an imperfect system, but it's got to start somewhere. And I believe that this aggressive form is kind of getting the ball rolling forward. It's up to the next president, whoever that is, left wing, right wing, whoever it is, to keep it rolling, to get it. It's never going to be perfect, but to get something in place, and this is a starting point. That's
But
my
the something in place and where we're starting is going to mean that the next administrations, not the next president, but the next few presidents will have to be picking up from the pieces of the hundreds of thousands of people now deported to countries that are not their country of origin, of the fact that U.S. citizens have now been displaced without due process, of the fact that so many people who went through the legal route have had their legal means undermined. This is not a simple solution that can be fixed with the next president. This is decades worth of progress that has now been upended that will have to be done again. And I
right. And
think
I
that
don't.
there's no reason as to why this should ever have been a question as to whether or not U.S. citizens should be deported. The obvious answer is no. It shouldn't have been a question as to whether or not habeas corpus should be attacked. The obvious question, this has been answered decades ago, centuries ago, is no. The fact that legal systems are now being upended, the obvious question to that was no. But, if there's just a blanketed slate of mass deportations of people, then obviously people who have legal means are going to get caught in that crossfire. And it's far more difficult and expensive to get them back here, as we've seen with the case of Kilmar Garcia.
And extremely unfortunate, but like I
Not
said,
just unfortunate,
it's
unconstitutional,
it's a
lawless.
it's an imperfect system, and
Well, it's
you know,
lawless.
and I don't believe that. I mean, let's just say that the next. I mean, what has happened the last two first days in the swap over new president, right? Biden came in, a whole desk full of executive orders that undid Trump stuff. Same thing Trump did this year. You know what I mean? It's going to be everybody's just going to be, no, we're not doing that. No, we're not going to do that. No, we're going to implement this. The next president comes in, undermines it all anyway. It's never going to be fixed, I don't think.
That's not to say that there aren't steps that needed to be taken, and very clearly there were. Is why Republicans tanked one of the largest bipartisan agreements towards the border that would have alleviated many of the issues and stresses that we see today. The issue here has to do with the backlog of cases, the lack of judges, processing centers, facilities, translators, interpreters, lawyers, etc., etc. Mass deporting people does not address that root issue.
Sure, but it put it on the map of what the U.S. is doing.
Well, we know that, but the question
We
here is
know,
how to get
yes.
them in here legally.
I
And
agree tenfold.
that does not alleviate that issue.
I agree tenfold. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And
Okay.
like I said, I don't know if it falls on the DHS or
It
um,
does.
um, I mean, for immigration, I mean, everything has to be broadened, like you just said. More hires, more ports of entry, translators, the whole 9 yards. I agree with that tenfold. Absolutely. Yep.
But what about
Okay.
what about the wasteful spending? Like in the first 2 months of him doing this mass, like moving immigrants to Gitmo, right? That was $40 million alone. And now he just said a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, maybe just a week ago, that he wants to send 30,000. It's prepared for about 500. You
Yeah,
know,
I
he had to
mean,
return.
as
He had to
far as
return like 200. They had to
right.
turn around and send them back, which was an additional cost. All of the time being spent in federal courts, additional costs.
Yeah,
Do
well,
you,
nothing's free. I mean, it's if you're going to do something like this, it's going to cost money. That should just be a no-brainer. You know what I mean?
I said
If
wasteful though. I said wasteful spending.
if we could have done it for 10 million, would we have taken that deal? Probably. You know what I mean? Do it as cheap as possible. I'm assuming that we're doing it the cheapest way we can.
Yeah, the transportation is not even included in that 40 million. That's excluding transportation costs, which is about $27,000 an hour for charter planes.
Sure. Like I said, it's an imperfect system.
Right, but there's a lot
Right.
of
We
imperfect
understand.
here.
Yeah, we
Mm-hmm.
understand it's an imperfect system, man, but what is he doing to change it? Like, we understand this is disproportionately affecting brown people, but it's also affecting American citizens at the same time. What's he doing to fix it?
What's he doing to fix? Give it more. Fix exactly what?
Right. We understand that there's a problem here, right? It's imperfect. American citizens are being affected. 4-year-old children on cancer treatment are being affected. They are actively hunting down brown people within our country. It's an imperfect system. What is he doing to fix it?
I haven't heard anything.
So just continue with disproportionately affecting brown people in this country? That's okay with you? Like, you're just gonna be like, well, it's imperfect. You know, the judicial system, we understand it's imperfect. We get that.
I'm
Fix
not
it.
putting. I'm
Don't
not.
continue down the same road is the point.
Sure, sure. Maybe,
But you're okay with it though.
maybe there is a way, and I just touched on this, but maybe there is a way that I don't know that they have a plan that they can fix it. But what's the point of it again in 3.5 years if somebody else gets in and just undoes it? What is the point of it?
That doesn't make sense. This is affecting people right now, not 3.5 years from now. We're talking about right now. So you said you're okay with what he's doing, even though you understand it's imperfect and it's hurting people. You're still okay with it. That's my problem.
Yes,
Like,
I believe that everybody that comes over into the U.S. and wants to become a citizen should do it legally. Would you agree?
yeah, 100%. Then why is he
there-
literally stripping the asylum process away from people so he can deport them to other countries other than their home country?
That I
Like,
don't
I
know.
agree
don't
people
have
should do
that
it
answer.
legally, but he's hindering that as well.
Right. I don't have the answer for you, baby. Like we said, hire more people, translators, judges, the whole nine
So,
yards.
but
Here's the thing:
here's
you
the,
stand by. Sorry, go ahead. Your
no,
turn.
you go ahead, Paige. I'll go in a second. It's fine.
I was gonna say you're standing behind this administration and the way they're carrying it out, and at the same time you're agreeing that they're fucking up a lot.
Oh yeah, I'm not exactly thrilled with the route
Then
they're
why are
going.
you standing
What
by
I'm
it?
standing behind is because they're doing something about it. They're
Well,
trying to
They
do
were doing
Biden.
something. Literally, Biden and
Biden
Obama did more.
Deported more.
Couldn't-
I get that, right?
Couldn't
I understand that.
Why couldn't Trump have just done the deportations without targeting groups that don't have anything to do with anything that you're talking about?
I'm sorry, I got a call coming in right now. I have to
Okay.
bounce. I'll hop back on off my call if that's all right.
All right.